Sanctuary cities are seeing the alarming effect the illegal migrant crisis has had on their neighborhoods, healthcare, and schools. In fact, a new report shows just how crowded classrooms have become in Philadelphia. Some students at some schools, like Lincoln High School, for example, have to eat lunch at 9 a.m. because they have to space out the dining slots for the 1,000 extra migrant kids that have arrived. Now, all of this happening as some of these same Democratic mayors say they will defy any orders of the new Trump administration. Well, joining us now to discuss this and more is Mark Morgan, the former acting commissioner of Customs and Border Protection and visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Mark, good morning to you. Trump did say yesterday he will declare a national emergency to carry out his campaign promise of, mass deportations. But you have this issue with these sanctuary cities and these sanctuary states that plan to go against the very call to fix the issue plaguing some of these communities. How's this going to work?
Well, Jan, first of all, we've been talking about this for several years now, the very premise of sanctuary cities. They don't just carve out a certain demographic of those that are in the country illegally. They protect anyone that's in the country illegally, including someone that's come to our country illegally and then committed another violent act while in the United States. Sanctuary cities refuses to allow local law enforcement to work with federal agencies to detain and remove that individual. It's absurd. It's illogical.
How is that legal? Can Congress create legislation to ban a sanctuary city or state?
Yes, they can. And I hope that's one thing that the Republican-led House and Senate does in the next 4 years. The buzzword that's been passed around right now is the American people voted President Trump back in the White House for a reason. They've given him a mandate. And part of those mandates are to stop illegal immigration, secure the border, and remove those that are in a country illegally. And Jan, as far as the national emergency goes, look, he did it during the first presidency. It was held to be constitutional. It gave us additional funding and resources that was very effective to help secure the border. And the last thing that I'll say about sanctuary cities, look, he can also use federal grant and other funding and cut that off to force them to end these absurd policies. But let's keep in mind, ICE ERO, enforcement and removal operations, they're going into sanctuary cities every single day. So just because someone's in a sanctuary city doesn't mean federal law enforcement are not going to go in there and remove criminal illegal aliens. It's going to happen. It's happening every single day. It's just going to be less effective and more time consuming without the help of local law enforcement.
Democrats also trying to force through a spending bill critics say would drag out the migrant crisis. Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty wrote, Americans rejected open borders, yet Senate Democrats propose $750 million for resettling illegal aliens, CBP-1 app, more money for resettlement facilities, less money for CBP border operations. Democrats are using their last 2 months to admit as many illegal aliens as possible. What'd you make of this?
Look, I think this is exactly why President Trump is going back to the White House. This is just another, I think here's what's frustrating is that, as I said, the American people overwhelmingly sent a very clear mandate to our congressional members in Capitol Hill of what they want to have change. And one of them is border security. They overwhelmingly support widespread removal of illegal aliens. And here you have the Democratic Party that's actively trying to thwart the will of the American people. And I want to focus on one aspect of this bill is the CBP-1 app. You and I have talked about this several times. This is the heart of the shell game, right? Yes. So instead of, encouraging people to illegally enter in between the ports of entry, they just shepherd them into our ports of entry where they're still released in the United States. The Democrats are now trying to codify that in law to make it more difficult for the president to actually stop the flow of illegal immigration. It's just absurd. And again, this is exactly why Trump's going back to the White House.
And there is a backlog, Mark, of 2 million asylum cases currently in this country. What's your thoughts when you hear talk about the cost to deport an illegal immigrant? What about the cost to keep them here? How many billions has it cost taxpayers for housing, health care, basic necessities?
Yeah, Jan, look, this is why I love talking to you. It's just common sense. The chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, Mark Green, while during his impeachment process for Alejandro Mayorkas, saw that, look, the last 4 years, illegal immigration has cost taxpayers $500 billion. So regardless of what the numbers it is to remove people have been floating around, it's still a net win. It's going to be cheaper to remove people than keep people in the country illegally. And the last thing that I'll say is, what's the cost to our nation's safety and national security? I wonder if the mother and father and family of Laken Riley is worried about the cost, because had they done the right thing, had we secured our borders, had we not had sanctuary cities, their daughter, Laken Riley, the 22-year-old nursing student in Georgia, would still be alive today.
Former Acting Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection and visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation, Mark Morgan. Great talking to you. Thanks for joining us this morning.